boot camps have been a tremendous growth rate of close to 40% over the last decade. That's the last 10 years. Do you know how much it sprung during the pandemic? And with key planning, a boot camp is a great way to grow revenue, expand your client base. And so we brought these experts together, and they've all got their different expertises, which is something I really enjoy. Fraser Quelch, who does not want me to introduce him this way, but I'm going to do it anyway, is an internationally renowned expert, is the founder of the revolutionary training company TRX, and an award-winning presenter who's been featured on TEDx and a million conferences. He's a great guy. I spent more time with him in Asia, I think, than in America. And I said, yeah, I remember that night. It was so fun. We went out drinking, and I realized, yeah, I was the one drinking. He didn't drink. Okay, anyway, we've got Nike Charles is here. She's the owner of Just to Sweat. Look at her background. That's her basement, guys. She built this whole workout facility out of her basement. This is her sideline. What do you do for a living?
I manage insurance claims.
Abandoned claims. All right. Well, so if anybody's going to inherit any money, go to her. She's the owner of Just to Sweat, a place where faith and fitness transforms lives. She holds a bachelor's of science degree in kinesiology and a minor in sports medicine. She's also a CanFit Pro. I feel like it's our sister to the north. CanFit Pro certified personal trainer who has been into fitness her entire life. We've got Alex Bryce, who's over here. He's from San Diego. He's actually my son's trainer, and he trained me, and he kicked my gluteals. He's amazing. He's got a degree in strength and conditioning and a minor in sports nutrition and a master's degree in exercise science. He's like no dummy. This guy is brilliant. He's the head coach at Electrum. He's actually going back to get his doctorate in physical therapy, and he's the head strength coach at Atos Jiu-Jitsu. And it's the most famous jiu-jitsu training facility in all of America, right, Alex?
That's right.
Cool. And you not only train jiu-jitsu athletes, who else do you train?
We work with, people of all shapes and sizes and walks of life, as well as mixed martial arts. So UFC and Bellator fighters and a few rugby Olympians sprinkled in there too.
Very cool. Lots of different people. And Diva Richards is one of the top rising motivational coaches within the East Coast region. She's got over 15 years experience within the entrepreneurship sector. She's a founder and president of Hard Work No Excuses LLC. My favorite website. I love this name. It's literally called Hard Work No Excuses. She's got a 10,000 square foot facility. She's been doing this over 20 years. So she started a long time ago. But what's the one word, the first word that came out of your mouth, Diva, when we were talking about boot camp? What's the one thing everybody has to do?
You gotta go virtual.
Go virtual, girlfriend. Yeah, we gotta go virtual. All right. So how do I start a boot camp business? Diva, how do I start a boot camp business?
Well, one, you want to make sure you have a market. Who's your market? Who are you reaching out to? Who are your clients? Get them together in small groups and decide on those meetup times. It's so easy. I know so many boot camps that businesses that have evolved and started with just saying, we're going to meet every Saturday at 9 a.m. It's really easy to start. Scaling's another issue, and I'm quite sure we'll get into that later, but starting is easy. All you got to do is start, get people together, advertise, promote, let them know this is the class, this is the time, come, show up, bring a friend. And that's kind of how you get that momentum going.
Yeah, and Alex, you said Instagram was key for you.
Yeah, we actually started our business virtual first and then moved into a brick and mortar facility. So our path for Electrum is a little bit unique relative to, I think, the experience of many other fitness professionals. But yeah, building a sort of organic community via social media was definitely big for us and a great place to start to sort of build an authentic brand of, really bringing who we were to the online sphere.
And how did you develop that? Because we were chatting before this and getting involved with Atos, with this training facility for jujitsu, and then being able to add your strength and conditioning and your sports nutrition element, you know, growing your business from there. How did you connect with them?
Well, that was a big reason why my business partner, who's also named Alex, moved to San Diego in the first place, to be able to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Atos. And we went to school together and identified it as a very new, young and growing sport, and somewhere where we felt like we could sort of get in on the ground floor, help educate and change the industry for the better. Then we started hosting camps in person for major tournaments, and then started selling a service online to jiu-jitsu athletes all over the world.
Oh, that's great. And being able to connect with a facility that maybe doesn't have the strength training element already, you were able to drive and improve these athletes. That's great. Fraser, you were sitting at your desk just like 5 minutes ago, and explain where you are now and what you're doing down there.
So, I mean, I think this question is really interesting, but it's also super broad. And so this is, I'm in my little training studio, which I've had since I moved into this house. When COVID first started, I thought with everybody moving into, and obviously my main gig is with TRX, where I spend the majority of my energy. But I thought it was really interesting that the opportunities in virtual, and so I converted this space from just my own little torture chamber to basically a virtual boot camp training studio. And so with a relatively modest investment, and just kind of started things, I've been rolling along with it ever since. I think at the end of this week we'll have hit our 200th level next workout since the beginning of COVID. So we started in May, and so that's what this space is. But there's lots of other. I'm involved with a bunch of other things that I'll try and bring to light as we come along, as we're talking about boot camp.
Yeah, and what else? When you started the boot camp, all right, you're this famous guy, but you got to get clients like anybody else.
For sure, and I think I think everybody has talked about there's opportunities, and that's the biggest crux, is trying to get butts in seats, essentially. And it always has been that way in pretty much every market, not just fitness, but especially in this environment. So first, it's your personal network, the people that who already know and trust and love you, and trying to pull out into them. Understanding exactly who your market is, like Diva said, is really important, because it allows you to target the folks that you want to actually have in your space or on your screen, depends on where you are. The social media piece is important, talking about it on social, and where you're going to expend your energy. Is it going to be on Instagram? Is it going to be on Facebook? Are you going to move to TikTok? There's lots of advantages and disadvantages to all of those things, and I'm sure we'll get into that. And then the one thing that I don't think we've talked about yet is forming partnerships with other companies that you may have an in with. You might know somebody who's in the human resources department who's trying to do that kind of thing. If you can get an into that group of people who are now all training are all working from home, if you can go right into their homes and try and draw them to your spaces, I think there's opportunities across all of those spots to try and generate the business that you want. And when you say I'm famous, I'm not, first of all. And if I am, I'm in a very small group of people who already know how to exercise, and so they're not really the best market for me to step into. But not ironically, I guess I would say probably 70% of the people that are involved with the stuff I'm doing at home anyway are actually fitness professionals who are just trying to get out of their own head and get a workout in and get coached just like everybody else needs to coach. So as Diva said, knowing your niche. And I mean, I guess I was surprised, though I shouldn't have been, that was the group of people that got attracted to the stuff that I was putting out there.
Oh, cool. And Nike, you've been doing this a while, and I love how you got to give us your story, how you started.
I started 2017 with my sister and her best friend in the basement. There were 3 or 4 of us, actually. Yeah, 2 best friends, and it's like Diva said, you got to start and be consistent. That's for me. And it's pivoting. You got to pivot. My word 2020 was, you got to pivot. COVID came in the basement. I had 40 women in the basement, back-to-back classes. And we went online March 15th. We've grown to 130 online in one class. So it's being consistent, and just being unique. I use a variety of things. Like I'm very creative. So anything can be used for me, for whatever it is. It's got to be creative, be consistent, and know yourself and know your worth, and who you are and what you can do, and know your talent. If you want to be a coach, you're a coach. Do what you know and what you studied, and give what you have. It is like, just do it.
And I love what you said, all the different equipment you use. What you got to turn your camera. You got
Oh,
to show them all the stuff in the back. You
there's
make it look so nice. So I
sort
apologize
of.
for
I'm sorry,
making.
it's kind of messy, but it's a bunch of stuff in the corner. So I use, it depends. We can use a, I use, for example, we use a broom. So instead of a weighted stick, we can use a broom. You can use a broom. We use, instead of a slam ball, get a pillow. Like, you can use things. We use a chair. So much you can do with a chair. We use resistance bands. We use, let's say, for example, skipping ropes, things you have at home that you can buy, gliders you can buy, like basic things. And we always have, it's just having a variety. People get bored. And if you get bored, they get turned away. And what makes you unique? What's your style of training? And what do you give people? Like, what is your energy giving? Energy is important to me. You got to give positive, you got to feed people what they need.
And when did you turn virtual? Was this was in
Yeah,
2000?
March, yeah, 20. You're right. Yeah, I had to pivot. So March 15, 2020, I offered free for 2 weeks, online virtual, because it was new. We're in the pandemic. What do? You pivot. I played basketball my whole life. I'm an athlete. You gotta pivot to move. You gotta pivot. So it's moving and not staying stagnant, because you will get buried alive. Like, we're in a competitive business. You will get buried if you do not move and stay relevant with the times.
And you know what I like is that, okay, we all kind of were free at the beginning in March, just because we thought everything was going to end in April. We thought it was going to be over by Easter. And we've discussed this over and over again. But you guys, if you want to start now, think about starting free. Like, I want to start an aqua boot camp. Any specific advice for that? Nike just said it. Start for free. Diva said it. Figure out your niche, talk about it. There's a really nice article, Mike Lieber, if you would put it in the chat box, on the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, has documented that the pool chemicals like chlorine or bromine have 6 times the amount needed to kill the coronavirus. So it's a very safe place to work out. You still have to watch the ventilation. Typically, pools also have great ventilation systems because they have to transfer the air around every 10 minutes to avoid the building of mold, etc. So it's a very safe environment to work out in. And if you're outdoors and you have the luck of being in the South, and it's sunny, work out outdoors. That really helps. But try, Nike, would you say starting free really helped you, or was it the word of mouth, or what was it that got you where you are today?
Honestly, yeah, having free was good. Like, having, it's people getting to know who you are and what you bring to the table, like what makes you different, and having them bring their friends, bring your friends, bring your aunt, bring your cousin, bring whoever it is to a free boot camp for a week. And it legit, it exploded. Every week we have the same. We have every 6 weeks we have 120 people online, 130. I gave a free time. We had 204 online, 204 people online doing boot camp. And it's just having that, what though, you're setting your goals. I had a Zoom says, you can have 100. I'm like, no, I'm gonna buy the bigger package, 500, because that's my goal, to get 500. So you gotta dream big. Like, what do you have to lose? Dream big or dream bigger. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So you just gotta dream and go for it.
Diva, you're nodding, which tells me that you're
Loving her, Nike. You're my new best friend, man.
Well,
You just don't know. No, but it's true. I was sitting here thinking when she was saying about starting for free. When I first started my fitness journey and started teaching on my own, that was what I did. I said, I posted a flyer, and this is before Instagram, okay? I posted a flyer at all these places and said, hey, free class. Nobody showed up the first time. I went back the next week, free class. And I stayed consistent, and it grew into where I am now. So when I hear you say that's part of your journey, that's so real. Like, that is so real. Just start, show up, be consistent, and the people will come. They will come. Don't give up. Start your boot camps. I want lots of DMs from people who are starting boot camps.
very nice. Very, very nice. And Fraser, how would you encourage people to start?
Well, I mean, I wanted to respond to Billy. You just said he asked Nike, did you start on Instagram or on YouTube and then go into your website? Look, it takes almost nothing to get a website up to speed. like almost nothing. All you got to do is figure out how to bolt the stuff that you need on together, and that's pretty simple. So, I mean, you can even do your own design to begin with if you're got a little bit of artistic. Like even, hey, if I can get a little bit of artistic, then I swear anybody on this call can actually be as artistic as they need to be, because I guarantee you your ability to be artistic is probably exceeds my own. But like, I mean, I mean, there's a standard Wix and like all of the other website providers. It's pretty easy to get on there, and then they all have great integration. So all you have to do is have a logo, an idea about what your business is about, and then you bolt on Zoom, you bolt on a way for them to sign up with, I think I use Acuity, which is part of the web service that I use. And then you've got a way or Schedulicity. They can schedule now into your thing. You can exchange, you can take the money that you need to, or have it for free until you want to transition them over, however you want to set up your model, and you're off to the races. So all you got to do is just go on, figure out what your domain is going to be, and then go from there. In terms of, I lost my train of thought because I got all excited about that piece. But,
All right.
yeah.
How do we start our boot camp? And then I know the next step is, how do we scale it?
Oh, I know what I was going to say in regards. I just want to pop back across, like the starting free. I mean, I did that to begin with. Like, this thing started off as I want to try and figure out how this virtual training is going to work, how a sole proprietor could get it off the ground, how I can influence what we're doing at TRX, because we're providing a whole suite of products that people will be able to get to stop all the bolt-ons, which is a little bit kludgy, what we should be launching in the next couple months. And so I wanted to figure all of that stuff out, one for myself and two to help inform what I was doing. But so I started I think it was my birthday workout, was I invited as many people as I could get on Zoom, and because I couldn't have a birthday party, it was like everybody's birthday this year has been in quarantine or whatever. And so that's how it started, and then it just sort of scaled up from there. But what I decided to go to, because I wanted to be sensitive, I wanted people to get a chance to train with me, whether they could afford it or not. Like, the whole idea to democratize world-class training is something that we've lived at TRX since the very beginning, which is 17 years ago, and that's a value that I hold. And so I set my payment structure up that you pay what you can. Here's the recommended price, right? So the recommended price is $20 a class. Pay what you can. Everybody's in a different financial situation. If you like have the wherewithal to pay what it's worth, then pay that. If you don't, you have to come for free for a little while, come for free for a little while. If you have to stop that, like, I don't actually care, which is a hard thing to do. Because again, this isn't my main gig. So I'm not like, oh my God, how am I going to pay myself? So it's easier for me to talk about it like that. But what happens is, in a very short period of time, what you pay forward is going to come back, and you make your services accessible to everybody. And I think that was a really interesting business model that I just wanted to explore, because I don't think it's not out there very much, and it puts the onus on the person and what are their values and how much they value what I bring. And that's been it's been really interesting to kind of play with that model and watch it grow. So if you're starting this as a sideline and you're not like, oh my God, like I need to feed my family based on what my virtual training business pulls in, or you have some runway where you can build it. I think that model is really interesting.
Well, I think that's great. And we have a really good question from Laura. She says, so as we approach the new pandemic, people are getting Zoom fatigue. I hear you. I think they're getting zoomed out. Many of my participants want to get outside, and my local parks want a lot of money, plus numerous waivers to cover boot camp. Mike Libro put in one of our waivers of liability for you guys. You guys can snag that one if you need it, to cover boot camp and limited participants. Any ideas? Find a free park. You're going to find a free park and do it outside. And I think we were chatting a little bit. I'm going to go to Alex here. We were talking about, you guys, we have to think about transitioning. We have to think about how we're going to take it from virtual, and now we're going to do a hybrid. I ran down to my basement. I made Fraser go in his basement. Nike's turning her camera. I actually, this is like my favorite thing now. It's a little twisty that holds my phone. I can twist it. I don't know if you guys can see it. I've twisted it and put it on the top of a ladder, but I can twist it and put it on a tree outside. And it holds my phone as my camera. And then I use my computer, and Mike knows this because he helps me. I use my computer as my music, and I use my AirPods as my microphones. But I've got like a light that I can also drag outside, and it's really, it's portable. So I actually took it with me to Colorado and threw it in the overhead. So when I was in Colorado, I took a flight. I've already had one COVID shot. I'm waiting for my second. But you've got to think, how am I going to transition? Now, Alex, you did, oh yeah, and here's my ring light. Yeah, we can't forget my ring light that also holds my phone so that I can look like I'm somewhat professional and not in my basement. Alex, you did something brilliant where you've been training these semi-pro athletes or pro athletes or pro moms, okay? And then what you do is you built an app, right?
Yeah, we have a mobile branded app. It's through exercise.com, actually. And that allows us a lot of agility and versatility because we have clients who are all over the world, Europe, Asia, South America. And so when we went from, having our custom programming and brick and mortar facility to having to be shut down, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that live courses were going to be challenging for us. For many of our online folks, for some of our in-person clients, we were able to make things work. And I've played around with, to build off of some of the questions there, I've played around with like Loom or Marco Polo or other services like that will pre-record videos as opposed to doing something like Zoom for people who are struggling with Zoom fatigue. And my dog just seems to think that, a live class is playtime. So that makes things a little bit tricky. So what we had sort of pivoted to is almost in some ways a boot class, right? Of being able to pre-record, everything was virtual, but was it necessarily live, to be able to service people all over the world, different time zones, different schedules, and to even build a little bit off of some of the ideas of free, right? That was one of the big things that we focused on was free education, well before we ever offered a service, well before COVID. And I think that holds even more true to this day. There's a little bit of a scarcity mindset or a natural human inclination to want to hold your information, your education, your coaching ability behind a paywall because what you have is valuable. But especially in this day and age, it seems silly to say this, but the more you give away for free, the more education and information you provide for free, the more money you will make and the more customers you will bring to your brand and the more value you'll be able to provide to your clients and to society. And that was, yes, we used Instagram, but there are a million different ways to do that. When we shut down our in-person facility, the first thing I did was post on Instagram for free how you could fill water jugs or put textbooks or bags of rice in a backpack. And all of a sudden now you have something at home. And I did a Netflix workout of when it says, are you still watching? You do 10 burpees. When they're rolling the credits, you do push-ups or sit-ups. And being able to provide that value made everything else that much easier for us and gave us that ability to pivot, despite circumstances that were less than ideal.
Yeah, this is that's great stuff. That's great stuff. And I'm going to tell you, I totally agree with you, Alex, because we do these free webinars between once and twice a week. We're going to have it twice a week next week and then going on. And we do it. And I got to tell you, it's one of my most favorite things I do all week long. This is like the dog is upstairs in the bedroom because the dog used to run around. If you guys remember, I'm getting so professional now. The dog is now in the bedroom and I'm wearing stretch pants, but I'm wearing a real top, so, but I'm still barefoot, so it doesn't really matter. But giving something away for free builds your credibility and makes people aware of, for me, it's our events. Nike, you were nodding kind of furiously there. And you've got free people working for you. Your husband works out with you behind you and your sister, and I love it.
You bring the whole family. I like what you said, Alex. I say the more you give, the more you grow. So it's all about, for me, it's all about giving. You got to give back. God has blessed me so much, I give back. So I have boot camp every 6 weeks. So every 7th week, it's free. So it's every 7th week, it's free boot camp, Monday for the whole week. Bring your friends, family, it's free. So you always got to give back. God blesses us so much. We have so much things as people, as human beings. Give of your talents. You got to give. Just give. It's something, it's free. And I think as trainers, if you can give, if you train for free, it's your passion. I would do it for free because I love it. So as mean, just give. It's one of my branding is giving of myself, my time, my energy to make sure people actually see what we do and grow.
And TRX, um, Fraser, you guys went crazy at the beginning of COVID, and it was amazing. It was, you endeared yourself to the fitness industry by being so generous.
Well, and I think it plays into what everybody else is saying. I mean, and Randy and I totally were aligned with this idea was like, hey, our whole business was built really on the backs of trainers who took the suspension trainer and took it to their clients and got passionate about it and literally forced their gym owners and managers to integrate it in, because like there were clubs that basically banned them from hanging up, and the trainers were like trying to hang them up real quick and get sets in and then take them down before they got caught, right? And so we knew it was obvious right away that the fitness industry was going to get hit really, really hard, especially the smaller providers in this pandemic. And so what we did was we took all of our education and offered it free virtually for the first 4 months of the pandemic. And it was great. Lots of people, trainers were home, they had nothing to do. And so they got this class for free, which was awesome. We had 25,000 people come through our education in that first 4 months, which was literally 2.5 times what we normally have come through our education in a year. So it was globally, which was, a huge win. We felt really great about it. But on the other end of that, like those 25,000 people are now out there trained using the suspension trainer for more than just rows and push-ups, and as a result being great advocates for us. And so, I mean, who knows what we realized back from those courses that we gave away for nothing, but I'm certain that our company flourished as a result of it. And I want to go back to something that you talked about in terms of everybody's, like, all of the world's fitness equipment was purchased in the last 10 months, all of it. And when I say that, like, anybody trying to find just try and find a dumbbell. Now it's caught up and maybe you can find some fitness equipment, but there was a period of time where you couldn't get anything. So everybody, to some extent, is set up to try and do some of these workouts at home. Now, yeah, we've got Zoom fatigue, and God knows how much time everybody spends in an environment just like this every single day. And some people go to the workout because they want to be around the people and they want to have that energy and all that stuff, and that's awesome. Other people are just like, if I have got a busy day, I don't want to miss my workout. So how can I access it? So even as we come out of this pandemic, and I think Diva said it a little bit earlier, virtual is going to be an important part of what our offerings are. And it's great when we can have that touch in a live environment. And one of the projects that I'm working on right now with Randy and a few others is an outdoor boot camp, like, franchise business. And how can we actually get people, feed them clients and set them up and help them navigate some of the questions in the box, which was, hey, it's really expensive to go to the local park, so how do I navigate that? I've got some ideas around that one as well. But that's going to be an important element. But on the other side, people who can rock up into Nike's boot camp and be like, this is awesome, I just got out of bed, I got to be at work at 8 a.m. I can get my workout in, walk upstairs and shower, and I'm off, right? I mean, that cuts out like an hour of travel time of going to the gym, getting ready, doing your workout, getting in the change room, getting yourself dressed up, not having all of your stuff to get yourself as, looking as pretty as you possibly can. Clearly, I don't have any of that, but these rest of these folks do. And then you can get on with it. So if you're more utilitarian in your approach to training, or have to be in some cases, virtual is going to be still a really important element of that. Like, it's a giant leap forward, and it's going to be a hybrid of both. But I just wanted to kind of point those things out as we go along, because boot camps now can take on all kinds of different just different shapes. And what Nike said, I mean, in basically her basement, she can actually have an effect on the lives of a couple hundred people, building towards 500 people. That scales at a level that's way beyond anything you could ever do in a live environment. So there's tremendous both opportunity from a business perspective, but also from an impact perspective.
Yeah. Diva, we just got a question in the chat box. Well, how do we go about with our music licensing?
So the thing with if you have a brick and mortar, and I swear sometimes I'm like, am I the only person that had to pay for this? But when you have a brick and mortar, inside you got to pay for a music license essentially, or they will come, they'll sue you for lots and lots of money. It's based on per person. Now, what happens in the virtual space, which is tricky, on Instagram, say you're doing a live feed, you can use regular music. They usually cut you after a certain amount of time. Like, you're not going to be able to do an hour class with all your rock and top hits. Instagram catches on, it cuts it. When it comes to Facebook, same thing. You'll be able to do a live feed. You can teach that class, but if you go too long, they cut it. If you do it privately, you don't have to worry about the music license. But once you're saying, I'm using this music, I'm reselling this product, yes, if they get wind of it, you'll get in trouble. But look into BMI. That's what I have, and it should work. But if you're in your home, you're in your home. So the virtual space gives you wiggle room. It gives you wiggle room. But if you're going to be selling something, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah, and Diva is absolutely correct. I mean, I think a lot of you guys know I'm a lawyer, so it's ASCAP and BMI. Don't call them. They will find you. They will find you on the internet, and for the most part, they will not penalize you and pay you for back. They'll catch you now. Do not let them in your facility, because then they'll, like Diva said, they'll start counting heads. They'll start counting speakers. Pay the minimum amount, keep them away, and they actually aren't going into facilities because of COVID, and also because they just don't have the ability to police. It's when you record and replay, and that's what you just use. Oh goodness, Mike Libro put it in the chat. I think Yes Music has a royaltyfreemusic.com. royaltyfreefitnessmusic.com. That's what it is. royaltyfreefitnessmusic.com. And it's really good. Now, Alex, and I'm going to encourage you guys, if you're unemployed or if you're underemployed, let's say your gym closed, or let's say you're not getting enough classes, and this is your livelihood. And what I want you to think about is, look what Nike did with her basement. You know, look what Fraser did down there, and adds a couple lights. And Alex is really smart. Alex went to one of those commercial facilities that has a garage door, and it's in San Diego. And all he does during these great days is he opens the garage door, and these people can then exercise in the facility. So there is so much retail space out there that's not being utilized, as being very, very inexpensively rented. And I hate to say this, but there are facilities that are closed that if you ever thought, I want to think about owning something, now is the time to think about owning it. And again, Diva, you're nodding your head because you're the entrepreneur here.
I agree. I agree. And unfortunately, a lot of places are closing. A lot of landlords are stuck. They have buildings that they're no longer getting revenue. I mean, you'll be able to get something probably for pennies on the dollar now, literally. They would rather have some income than no income. So if you're interested in getting into a space, go look, see what you can do. Avoid triple net leases, but see what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got something to add in about the music. So I'll be basically devil's advocate about music. And here's the reality. People don't like your music all that much. You like your music. You love your playlist. You think it's the best damn thing you've ever done. But guess what? People probably like their own playlist. And in this environment, they don't have to listen to your playlist. You can create Spotify playlists that you really like and have it public, that's connected to your account, and people can go ahead and say, I'm going to start my playlist now if you want to go along with the music. If you're not doing something that's choreographed, it doesn't matter. You can't hear them. Like, I can't hear anybody on this call other than these speakers. You could be blasting your music, and maybe I would hear it and hate it. I know none of you would like all of my music playlists. I think it's incredible, right? But so think about your playlist, and while you think that they're the best imaginable things and you want to do your own playlist, do you really need a playlist? Can you focus on the coaching and have a little bit on the background and say, hey, you guys rock out to whatever it is that you want to listen to? Now, and that's not probably a popular thought with this particular group, But I want you to think about it a little bit, because your group, all of them have their own individual musical preferences, and guaranteed that they will not like everything that you do. So it's actually an opportunity for them to customize their own list. And if they don't want to do that, they can access your stuff in a bunch of different ways. Because the reality is when you start to actually hold on a minute.
Nike,
Yeah.
talk to this man.
I'm all about the music. I love music. My class has we do everything. We have a variety. We do Michael Jackson. We can do Aerosmith, Tupac. We go everybody.
Totally.
And we have we have different things. And music is hype. People like music. So I always say, but have a variety. You're right. Have a variety. You can't have just one genre, because I love things too. But I like variety too. So I go from Prince. We go from whatever it is. Like I said, Aerosmith to Tupac. Like it's so broad, and we'll blast it.
And Nike, how do you run your sound system? Like,
so when I first started, I had nothing. I was yelling in my screen, like just yelling. And once I got revenue, I bought a whole sound system, speakers, everything, lights. After it takes a while. You start with what you have. You're not gonna. It's not like it is what it is, but it works and it's set up. Now you can hear me. Before I was yelling. So about starting, it's just starting from whatever you have, and you will grow and get what you need. For now, use what you got. That's it.
And I know you use a camera, and I know you use obviously the microphone. You guys, AVNow is I think we can look up the discount.
Yeah.
Mike Lieber, can you look up the discount code that I think we had it in Livestream Mania? I think it's like SCW15 or something like that. You get 15% off with them.
I have AVNow. That's what I use. My whole system is AVNow. And I'm Canadian. I went out and bought it. I bought it in America because they had that product I needed then in March 2020. So yes, it's doing the research and buying things that are going to last you. So AVNow is incredible customer service. They're amazing, and it works.
Yeah, it's just www.avnow.com, and it's like audiovisual.com.
For fitness, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and they're thank you, Mike. He already put it in the chat box. He's so good. But they can help you figure out the music and the microphone and the mixer. And it really does help. Now, I think Alex probably agrees with you, Fraser. So I'm sorry.
Hey, no, and don't get me wrong. I love music, and my musical tastes are about as broad as you can possibly imagine. I'm just pretty sure that everybody is not always going to love everything I have to play. And so a different way of thinking about it is, here's access to my playlist. Rock it out if you want to have the energy, as opposed to me piping it through. But you can turn me off too. If you don't like my music, that's cool. Play your own and just listen to what I have to say in terms of the way I'm coaching stuff through. Because I come from the same background that Nikki comes from. I'm a lifelong basketball athlete. I'm a coach. That's what I do, and I'll bring my energy to it. The music is background to me. I'm not usually working on beats, though I can. That's not something that I like to integrate into the way I coach now. So, but like I said, I love music as a background. You're right. It's all about the vibe. I'm just saying that people may not actually like your music as much as you think you like your music, and that gives them an option to play whatever they want.
And that's my yoga teacher. My husband and I take hot yoga. So we turn the heat on in our basement, which is pretty hysterical. And she puts the Spotify link in the chat box. So we're listening to her, but we just can, we can either play the music on our phone or whatever. And it really does keep it going. Okay. So how do I'm going to do this again. How do I get and keep clients? Like, how do we keep clients from getting that Zoom fatigue? Alex, what are you doing to retain these people? And how you've got now, I think it's about 200 people online. How do you keep them there? How do you keep their interest?
So that's a challenge, right? That's the whole point, right? Is to being able to build a repeat customer base. And it's easy to talk about, you have to do something unique or different. But in terms of fitness, with only a few exceptions, I think TRX being one of them, the wheel has been invented, right? You're not going to see too many things. Everybody's squatting, everybody's doing push-ups, everybody's doing, so how can you provide something that is authentic is really the term that I like to use. If I tried to follow Diva or Nike or Fraser's style, I probably wouldn't be super successful. If I tried to follow somebody who's a yay, rah, rah, screaming, blowing a whistle, that's just not who I am as a person. So being able to find your authentic style, bring your own personal expertise or abilities to your service is always going to be the best way to really shine. And your clients will feel that. And that's what will really allow you to make a personal connection with them, which is harder through a screen. It involves more texting, more message boards, more emails, but the communication is key, whether you're in person or not. You have to show your clients that you give a crap about them. And those small details of knowing their children's names, knowing what they do for a living, knowing what their daily schedule is like, that's important for you as a coach to be able to accommodate those different lifestyle factors, but it's also key to be able to have that sort of personal relationship. You don't necessarily need to be best friends with everyone that you train, but if you can combine those two things, bringing an authentic brand that is providing value and making that sort of personal connection, the rest of it's going to fall into place.
Yeah, that's a nice thing. It was funny. I was actually teaching from Colorado, so I packed up all this stuff. This lamp is so funny. It's on Amazon. Mike, again, could you throw the link in there? I think somebody asked. I'm in Colorado, and the dog, literally, I'm in downward dog, and the dog's like walking underneath the triangle right there, walking around. And at the end of class, I apologized because here I was streaming to my YMCA class in Evanston. And I said, I'm so sorry about the dog. And they were like, no, the dog has to come every time. We love Buster. And it's just like, that's something that they enjoy. And I'm sure, Nike, they enjoy they enjoy seeing your husband back there.
They do, because he's a clown. So yeah, he's a joker. So, yeah.
And what I like what you said you did, oh my gosh, we're almost out of time now. But what I like what you said you did is these are family members. So you are social distancing together, and you have one person you do the advanced stuff, and then.
Yeah, so I have advanced myself, then I have modified intermediate. So we have the variety. So people have injuries, I'll show them follow so-and-so. And if you have whatever injuries you have, I'll say follow so-and-so, do so-and-so, don't do that. If you have shoulder pain, stay on the wall for push-ups. It's different things. We have a variety. We make sure everybody's taken care of.
And I like that. I like that a lot because, I worry sometimes I'm doing these yoga poses and I've got Orwin or this gentleman who comes, he's got a beard like this and he's 100 years old, I swear. And I'm always terrified. What am I, he's not a pretzel. This is not a good thing. So I'm constantly I think it's almost harder sometimes teaching on Zoom, always making sure they understand the modifications, but having someone there that you feel comfortable that you're social distancing with, I think that's really key. Now, in a quick chat at the end of class, Diana says this. Did you notice when we started the webinar, I looked up here, there's Kathy, there's Lisa, there's Talia. I don't know what they look like, okay? But I'm getting to know, you get to know your people, and they hopefully get to connect with each other. So we always turn the cameras on, we always turn the sounds on at the end. I'm going to go around the room and ask you guys to give us a little bit of closing as quickly as you can. Alex, what's your best word of advice for people for building a boot camp program?
I guess that last sort of point of, find out what's really going to allow you personally to shine and give things away for free.
Awesome. Works for me. Diva?
Yes, I'm like all in the chat. That's why I'm like talking to people. I'm like, guys, no, guys, to start your boot camps. Big thing is I want you just to start. I promise you, just start. Don't overthink it. Don't make this big project. Start. Get all your friends together. Get them on Zoom. Go to the park. People who are at the parks and you got questions, reach out to me. I'll tell you how the park pays me to teach, so I don't have to worry about all that. So make sure you reach out to me. But start. Go to the park. Start.
And Fraser.
I think I'm going to answer that connection piece that someone answered, because one of the different skill sets that is in the virtual environment as opposed to the live one is how do you create a connection through a lens, and how do you project your personality, your authenticity to what Alex said, through a lens, and understanding to work like, hey, there's 3 different levels. It's back when I'm demonstrating, it's in the middle when I'm talking, so you can see kind of hips up, and it's up here where I'm like giving high fives and calling out names and just like presenting yourself, pushing yourself through the lens and learning how to do that, because you're performing more when you're in this virtual environment than you would in a live environment. And that's a skill set that you have to start to develop if it doesn't come naturally to you already. So that whole idea of how do you connect through the lens, and there's obviously the before and the after, and Diva is doing an amazing job, like giving ideas and answering questions in the chat about all that stuff and staying connected with the folks. But in class, your experience, like what is your experience, define it, and then how can you push that through the lens, I think is probably the biggest thing.
Thank you, Fraser. And Nike.
For me, it'd be say, be consistent at whatever you do. Be consistent. For me, I still get scared starting boot camps, even though it's my passion. But I mean, regardless of how you feel, the more butterflies you have, the more worth it is. It's like playing sports. Starting a game, you're nervous, but you're an athlete. It's what you do. But it's going into that, turning on that screen and just doing it and being consistent in who you are and what you do. Alex said it's being authentic. That's who you are. People, it eases through. You can see it through the screen. People know it. They see it. They breathe it. They know who you are. And having a WhatsApp group for your people it's WhatsApp. It's something simple, and they connect via WhatsApp. We post food. We have accountability groups in WhatsApp. It's a WhatsApp. I say it's connected via WhatsApp. So I mean, for me, it's
Great.
yeah.
Great.
You can do
All
this.
right, guys, we're gonna close with a video, and here we go. Wonderful. So thank you guys for joining us. We have our first ever active aging summit, and we've even got boot camp presentations in there and HIT presentations for our active agers. It's 50 sessions. We've got 30 presenters. It's over 2 days, a Saturday and Sunday, March 20th and 21st. I hope you guys can join us. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Diva. Thank you, Fraser. Thank you, Nike. In my next life, that's going to be my basement. Okay, sorry, Fraser. Maybe I'll use your music.
I want Nike's basement too. It looks way better than mine.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have
Thank
a
you, guys.
wonderful night. And thank you, Mike
Take
Lieber,
care.
for a fabulous video and wonderful assistance. Thank you.
Thank you.